Niue government is about to sign a diplomatic relations agreement with one of the countries in Asia. Honourable Taketalangi said he's expected to sign the new agreement next week.
So I'll be signing a diplomatic agreement between ourselves and the Singapore government to establish diplomatic relations between us, between our two countries. I'm really pleased about that. The initiative was taken by the Singaporean government in association with our new High Commission's office in Wellington. And I'm really pleased with the role that the High Commission in Wellington has played with respect to the establishment of this relationship we have now with Singapore.
Honourable Premier Talangi said Niue is not entering the diplomatic relationship to ask for aid, but there are areas that both countries can assist with each other.
They do have some businesses and business skills and opportunities that we can look to, getting them to assist us in what we're doing here. There are things also that we can assist them with on an international scale. So I think this is often we tend to think that the only reasons why we want to do this is because we want to ask for aid. That isn't necessarily this government's objectives. This government's objective is to see whether we can, in fact, be part of the global community in the strongest sense. And this is part and parcel of that.
Other countries Niue has similar agreements with are China and India, though the agreement with India is still processing. Groundwork has begun for the construction of a new Taonga Niue office that looks to be a short-term solution for cultural artifacts to be available for public viewing after years of being held in storage. Cyclone Heta destroyed the National Museum in 2004, and items recovered were later collected and put on display at a makeshift location in Halamahanga. However, a controversial relocation of the artifacts due to the shift of the Education Department in 2009 resulted in national cultural artifacts being stored in shipping containers, a room at the Education Department, and occupying space in the existing Taonga Niue office. Over the years, the department has accumulated artifacts with nowhere to display them. Director Mora Enetama says that the new building will be much needed. Addition, and although this is not exactly what they had envisaged, it is a good start in recognizing the value of Niuean history and heritage. Moira says there has also been a great level of interest from visitors and locals alike for these artifacts to be made available to the public, as well as the archives for research purposes. The cultural significance of these treasures have yet to be realized and appreciated for their tourism potential, a matter which the department has raised in the past with a hope that it will be included in government's plans for development. Taonga Niue believes that cultural heritage and artifacts should be considered as a main draw card for visitors. A shortage of resources such as aggregated and fine makasea, as well as the availability of machinery due to the various development projects underway, have caused delays to the project and left an indefinite completion date for the building. Kua hawhangi toi e taha officer fo he motu ke lata moe whakamawanga he tau wakatonga mai whafo. Pehe lilif pali mia he motu ka toke tālangi la he fia hana ke he whakaholanga fo nai.
Ko tunga nei ka he lori ke whakamamata, ko tunga ni e hinga register he te motoka whanaka ke whahinga reo reo. Ke register motoka house, tungi mi a koe annual fee, si ke tupi niwi ke mo. Hai e fuki te whakatoka ni kua tausi ke tā piki kia i e whahoroanga ni, ke onono ke tau tā, onono ke hara tūrua tau tangatanga hua. Te manausi e nuka taka ki loto po kua tuhia ki loto he hātau tūrua mata whakatawhana, ke mui tūa ki e wharua mena ia e moni ne muli whakatasi, ka e whiawhia au ke whakailanga ata kua mawhana dui. Si lohi whuki whiawhia hāku he officer he Crown Law, hakolo tūru ni makaukula he tausi whikauni, ke lātai me whahoroanga ni ko tausi he makauni. Tahari ke hāmata business ni tunga ni helo mtūru ko whakamuriang, kamata business te togi mai tulu si wa fitu pe Amerika ki da tulu mo le fa si wa fa la yo la fi ha ko mai ke tulu mo bi hi tupe si la fi mo fa o yo ke business e ma da ko i Singapore ha ko dali lo tulu e ole for fono niwe ko ga ole ha ke dos bi hi mo tulu ke te togi mai mo tupe kai to kamata e fa ro e business ke he tau tonga ke registry e tu si que maria ha kuna amiga o gogo vini ha e fa tu tana tu family mi ha fia o me ke tu mo de tu no ba te no he tu go tu
Pehe fokia ia ke he tau whakaholoanga kua tau se ke lata moe matanga hua nei.
u e mena he longa he mena de ko lata ke tau se ke no fa mo ke talia ke kau fa ta me ta ne me Singapore tau se me hina de se ma do ko koe whakamurianga ke mara whakatawhono hai e nunga tohi ai, lau matai ke Crown Law ke hala tūru tama hua. Si pihia ni ke mata kau ni, koe mera ke tūru ake ke tau muito anga ke tau leweki anga rua toka ai ki loto he mata whakatawhono hai e whuki ni tau si e Crown Law. Koe mena whaa ke koe whakahoroanga business, e koe lau matai e whuki lau tūru kai lahi, lau matai whuki halau tūru he mata kau i Singapore si pihia whuki nao ke whekau ni. Si koe mena ta hawha hiku koe hawhangianga whuki o whisa da tūri ni hai e tangata ko whungahua ai da tūru ki nata ai whikawia.
Koe o whisa whakamau waka tonga nei ngā hua ki lalo he whawhai ngā hua he palemia ka le weki he tohi kupulai he whakatu whono. Niue government has finally opened its new shipping registry office. The registry has been set up in collaboration with a Singaporean firm, and according to Honourable Premier Tokatalangi, the new project is looking very promising.
I'm really pleased. I mean, when you think about it, there are very few businesses that, if you think that you can negotiate a situation where they will pay you some advances before you think. And I'm very pleased that, our partners in Singapore have seen the need for them to work with us on this and agree to those terms. It isn't always easy, and some people might think, well, it's easy to sit down and just say, give us the money and things. No, it's not. But I respect their decision, and I believe that they respect my reasons for asking them to pay us in advance, and I'm very pleased about that.
Now, you talk about being paid in advance. How much exactly are we looking at in figures?
Well, $300,000 for the first 2 years. That's payment in advance, US dollars. So I'm pleased about that. It's money for us to use for the benefit of all Niueans here.
Honourable Premier Talangi said the new office will work with the Singapore firm who will help with some of the services and those who are currently interested in registering in Niue.
They are looking at, I understand, a couple of ships more if that's possible. They will be advising us as they, because that's their role. Their role is to market and advise the industry that there is a new registry and try to encourage people to come and register in our ship registry.
The new office will work under the Premier's department but overseen by the Secretary of Government. The advancement of information communication technology has opened up avenues for an increase of cyber crimes, and Niue is working to develop a new law to safeguard the island from becoming a target of cybercrime. Cybercrime is any crime that involves a computer and a network used as tools to commit crime. 2 cybercrime experts have been on the island this week to conduct national consultations with stakeholders to help develop policies and legislations applicable to Niue and conduct capacity building on cybercrime. This is part of a regional project. We spoke to Professor Marco today.
Part of a EU, European Union, and ITU, which is the International Telecommunications Union, co-funded project. The ITU is a UN body. It's a UN organization, the oldest UN organization, and it's dealing with telecommunication but also cybersecurity. And both organizations are funding a project here where 15 Pacific countries came together and developed their own regional policy and their own regional legislation, model legislation for cybercrime, which will then be implemented by each of the countries. And the idea is that not each of the small country develop its own policy policy, but that they can use this sample policy that is developed by experts from all the countries and implement it on the national level. It's most unlikely that you will have many cyber criminals on the island, but cybercrime is on the island. You have the victims. Almost everybody we spoke to has already had a computer virus or has been victim of other crimes like cyberbullying on the internet, on Facebook. So the crimes are committed and the people are victim of crimes, but you don't necessarily have the offenders. And so far, it's not criminalized. A lot of those things that we would consider cybercrime are not criminalized, so the police can't actually really do much to protect the victims. With the proper legislation and proper policy, there would be more possibilities to prevent crime on the island.
The accessibility of internet on the island is an advantage, but with connectivity come risks.
Especially related to children. Children are connecting to the internet and they're using the internet, and very often parents don't really pay much attention. And I was trying to compare it. It's like you're watching your child when it's in the backyard and you're watching your child when it's in the house, so it's not going to the kitchen, doesn't hurt itself. But when you give the child a notebook or when you give it an iPad or any device to connect to the internet, it's like you're opening a door and you're putting your child right in the middle of Times Square in New York. And without education, without a little bit of skills, and without helping it to find its way there, it will not find its way. And will be confronted with a different system, with completely different value system. And it's very important that parents pay attention to this and carefully guide it through this process, because then the internet offers great opportunities. What I think is that the parliamentarians will quickly take it forward if they realize that a lot of the people here in the country have actually been victim. So what we did is we didn't just want to go there and tell them, yes, people here have been victim. We wanted to prove it. So in each of the sessions, we handed out questionnaires. We handed out questionnaires to 150 students in high school. We handed them out to the people we spoke to, and all together we got more than 250 questionnaires back, where the people were reporting about the crimes that happened to them. And if the government will see that basically everybody on the island who's been connected to the internet has been victim of a crime, they will see that this is probably the most serious crime or the most widespread crime that you have on the island. And then I think there will be a great desire to find legal solutions and implement them as soon as possible.
Professor Marco Gerke says they will be submitting the first draft of the policy within 2 weeks and first draft legislation in 4 weeks. They will depart the island tomorrow. Farmers have been part of practical agricultural training session facilitated by the Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries at Waipapahi for the last 2 days. Avid farmers and gardeners gathered to find out more on how to improve farming methods and techniques from experts from the various divisions. The workshops are an initiative from the department in response to requests from farmers during village consultations held over the past few months. According to Senior Project Manager Natasha Tobaka, she said that the turnout has been great, with a lot of interest, and that one of the main issues that kept coming up during consultations was the request from farmers for the department to order in chemicals and fertilizers as well as farming equipment at more affordable prices. With the help of staff from the various divisions, the sessions were divided into stations from plant propagation, use of chemicals for pest eradication, safety measures, fertilizer use for soil supplements, and caring for livestock and poultry. We spoke to an eager participant, an avid gardener, about the value of the workshop and learning experience.
I've learnt that it's very important to sterilise the soil before you actually plant, which was something that I didn't realise. And of course I learnt other things like the depths you use to plant the seeds. And my husband and I have been trying to grow many vegetables, and we've found that we haven't been successful. And I think probably we've really planted some of the seeds too deep. You really should only go perhaps 2 to 3 centimetres, whereas I've probably gone nearly to the base of the container. The seeds mostly, because that's what my main interest is. But I'm sure that everything that was available would be helpful to everybody. The people doing the program were very good at explaining, and they didn't use difficult language, although of course they spoke Niuean, so most of the time I didn't quite understand, but a lot of people translated for us. even though I have tried to learn Niuean. I'm finding it rather difficult. And they were willing to give out information on questioning, which I thought was extremely good. And I think the program has been really of immense value, and I really commend the government department for running this program, and I'd like to say thank you very much for the opportunity to attend.
DAF endeavoured to assist and support farmers in future based on the demand opening their doors to those who would like more information. However, one issue that continues to be raised in regards to a request from farmers for the department to resume ordering in chemicals, fertilizers and farming equipment at more affordable prices. But this is one area where the department have been unable to follow through due to government's policy on supporting private sector development. And to end our news bulletin for tonight, Niue government has now received new vehicles to replace the old fleet. 3 new vehicles arrived off the boat last week, each costing just over $13,000. Government representative this morning said the old fleet will be put up for tender. Some of the old vehicles have had mechanical problems and needed to be replaced. The new fleet will all go to current ministers, with Premier Talangi utilising his existing vehicle. 2 ministerial cars are expected to be utilised by the associate ministers. The reasons for the purchase of identical vehicles, so they are identified with number plates all registered as Government 2 to 4, with Premier Talangi's as Gov 1. That's our news bulletin for tonight. Don't forget also you're all invited to the Tamakotonga Show Day this coming Saturday. Good evening.